this place our Africa. I have his words here. Let us make it our Africa, wherever we are. What he means to tell you, and what the message is, you have to have Africa in your mind. This can be your Africa too, providing your mind is Africa. Free your African mind. That is what we're talking about. Without that, liberation would have meant nothing to those ancestors. And it's the same thing with us today. Liberation will mean nothing if we liberate ourselves with the minds the man put inside our head.
That's right.
It will mean nothing. We'll only be caricatures of the man,
Right.
but with a different color.
That's the truth.
And that's precisely what we have to fight. The ancestors knew it. They didn't go to no city college or no Yale. They knew that.
Right.
We must know it the same way. And to go back again, talking about the warriors, these things lasted. Let me just give you an inkling of the kind of some of the leaders, what they were like. Defile was a dedicated person. She had had an unfortunate experience with a Frenchman. She was a wider. She came from the part her mother came from the wider group of Africans. She herself, unfortunately, her mother had been raped, and she was the daughter of a rape. And when, worse than that, is that she was taken by a Frenchman to be made his lover. And she resented it. And she eventually had to kill him. And she killed him and she went away. Some people on the plantation, some other Frenchmen, they managed to capture her and try to bring her back. And what they did, they tried to cut her up in a spot where I will not mention to you. And they tried to do that. She managed to get away. And it's when she got away then, she linked with Desaline and the others and became this powerful sister that the Haitian Revolution does not usually talk about. It is she, not Bookman, it was she who really took charge of the ceremony and did all the things that had to be done. Bookman was the priest that intoned and called upon the African gods, but she was the one who did all the things at the ceremony. She. And that ceremony that took place on the 14th of August, 1791. While I'm about it, just let me remember to tell you that next year there's going to be a group of us are going to back. They're going to back to the Bois Cayman next year, August, to reconstruct the entire ceremony in the Bois Cayman. No whites allowed.
All right.
No, so this is something that just as it happened 200 years ago. And so, to go back, the struggle of the Maroons includes not only men, but women, African men and African women, who fought side by side. And the struggle is an epic of courage and bravery at a time when, you know, Africans really were enslaved with chains and whips and dogs and you name them. And they could stand up and fight for this liberation, fight for this. One instance is the Fighting Maroons of Jamaica. This book is written by a Jamaican brother, Kerry Robinson, and it's of all the books that they deal with the Maroons in Jamaica, this one is by far the best one. And let me just, before I get to the Haitian part of it, let me just tell you of the kind of struggle. They had the mountain lion who came from the Akans was Kojo. He was the most impressive Maroon chief, and he was a natural born leader, as they called him. He defeated the British in every encounter. The slaveholders were powerless against his attacks. Before planning a raid, what he would do, he had his spies mingle freely with the enslaved brothers in the markets and on the plantations, learning when to strike and where. Then he would go out at night, and even by day, they attacked, he and his group of soldiers attacked with such deadly thoroughness that he left in his wake burnt mansions, burnt cane fields, and the dead bodies of whites, and unfortunately, their faithful Uncle Toms. They killed them all. Kojo. I think that's a lesson we must learn today, you know, because there are plenty Toms around. By 1730, he had grown so strong that some of the old English settlers thought it best to abandon their plantations and return home. That's what caused slavery to fail, my brothers and sisters. That. Not no man sitting in London and passing a law and saying that I enslave you now or whatever. No. That's the story they want us to believe. There's one thing Europeans want us to believe. You know, when we show any kind of physical strength, they don't want to know. They want to know things by, their books and, sit on a table and discuss it. But when brothers and sisters take up the struggle or take up arms in any way, they become frightened. They prefer to tell you that they gave it to you through democracy and all the kind of lies that they have. But they never want to know that we fought and got it ourselves. The government decided to make a supreme effort to capture Kojo and his men. Forts and outposts were built near the Maroon settlements, and they got hundreds of Indians from Central America and dogs to track down the Maroons. And they had a force of 1,000 soldiers. 1,000 soldiers. But Kojo proved too cunning for his enemies. Let me give you just one instance. He sent out one of his spies to tell the British that he would be found at a certain distant spot. He marched stealthily down the mountains to meet the enemy and took up a position overlooking a deep pass through which the British had to march. The British captain, a man called Captain Lemilia, believing Kojo to be many miles away, coming through with his vigilance relaxed. Tired from dragging the cannon uphill, his soldiers straggled into the pass where Kojo and them were waiting for him. Kojo, waiting until the narrow pass was filled with men, signaled to his own men at the entrance to open fire. 100 British fell. When the others turned in the direction of the fire, Kojo's men at the other end again struck the enemy until they were shooting from all sides of the British. They didn't know where it was coming from. The crisscross fire coming from everywhere. It so demoralized them that the remainder abandoned their guns and supplies and fled down the mountains. This went on for about 50 years. Eventually, they had to agree after about 35 years, 39 years of fighting this man, they decided they would